Warning: this video is for entertainment purposes only and is presented as a fictional story. All names and characters shown are nicknames and are used to protect privacy. Any resemblance to real people or events is purely coincidental. The situations depicted are exaggerated and performed by trained professionals in a controlled storytelling context. Please do not attempt to recreate, imitate, or participate in anything mentioned in this video. Viewers' discretion is advised. You've been warned. What's going on, guys? It's Delirious, back with another banger. Today we're gonna do another story time about how me and my boys tripped sack on the beach. Without further ado, grab your popcorn and let's get right into it. So it's August 14th, 2020. I'm a senior in high school. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning on a Friday to get picked up by my boys. And the plan was simple. We're gonna go to the beach, watch the sunrise, and trip sack. Before we got there, we stopped to pick up the shrooms, and we threw them into peanut butter sandwiches and ate them in the car. Now, 20 minutes later, we meet up with our gang, and we parked on like the side parking street. There was free parking. We didn't have to worry about none of that. And we grabbed our towels, bags, and chairs and walked onto the beach. Now it's closer to around 6 a.m. The entire sun was glowing orange and red. And I'm talking about one of those sunrises that like don't even look real. We dropped our stuff in the sand and we sat there and watched the red sun slowly rise above the ocean. That's when one of my gang members pulled out an edible gummy bear. I'm talking about 30 millis each. We popped these vanillis, and now at this point, we're waiting for the shrooms to kick in, and the sun is still glowing red over the water. Out of nowhere, one of our boys stands up and he just yaks. 30 seconds later, another man down. Same thing. We stayed laying on the sand for a bit longer, but more people started showing up on the beach. Families walking around, joggers, random people, literally every place we looked. We quickly realized that if we wanted to enjoy our trip, we kind of had to isolate ourselves and get away from everyone. So we grabbed our stuff and started hiking down the shoreline. Now that's when the shrooms really started doing their magic. The sand looked alive. There were holes appearing and disappearing as I walked over them near the water. The ocean felt weirdly warm, and every single thing looked around me looked as if it was like alive. There was one cloud that stood out to me from everything else. It literally felt like it was hovering right in front of me. And every time I looked at the horizon, my eyes would tear up because it was just so beautiful. Eventually, I looked at the non-yellow sun, maybe about 2 seconds, and I literally jumped backwards and I rolled into the sand. My brain couldn't process how insane it looked. Finally, after about a few minutes of walking, we found a spot where we thought nobody would bother us, or at least that's what we thought. We set up a speaker and Colin started playing music, and I swear every song sounded amazing. The instruments felt alive. My brain was completely hooked onto every sound. A lot of Grateful Dead, Pigeons playing ping pong, those kind of artists. It was quite the tunes that he got lined up for us. And now that's when we really started tripping. I asked Colin to hit his pen and I took a big blinker. And I said, "Take off. Let's go, boys." So I randomly yelled it out and I collapsed onto the sand staring at the clouds. The sky was the brightest blue I've ever seen in my life. The horizon looked fake. Everything felt peaceful. And then we hit this one song with some weird bass, and the speaker started making these farting noises. We were crying, laughing for like 10 minutes straight. At this point, I could physically feel the serotonin pumping through my brain. My body felt electric, and I could tell I was about to peak. So now we're fully peaking. At this point, we look like little kids rolling around in the sand, losing our minds. And a few hours into the trip, there was this random guy in the distance doing yoga on the beach. But where we were sitting, it genuinely looked like this guy was straight up fighting for his life against the sand. We were crying laughing, like the type of laughing where you can't breathe and your stomach hurts. The visuals were starting to get too insane. Off in the distance, I could see exactly what I thought was to be like a Fortnite storm cloud forming over the horizon. And above me, the clouds were turning into Mercedes-Benz logos spiraling across into the sky. One of my boys was telling me he was just seeing faces. And then we looked out into the waterline and we could all agree that we were seeing fractals on the ocean waterline. Everything was moving, everything was breathing, time didn't even feel real anymore. We stayed on the beach for hours, completely tripping out, until we could finally gain consciousness and start walking. We go to the diner just a few minutes away, walking distance from where we were. And once we kind of, got closer to civilization, everything felt weird. Cars were passing by, there were traffic lights, and I think this was because of our ego dissolution. We genuinely started asking questions on how society even ran. I ended up ordering pancakes and just destroyed that poor diner's bathroom. I felt bad. Now, we finally make it back to the cars, get back home, and I took the fattest nap of my whole life. And now that's the Sunrise beach trip story. Definitely one of the crazy experiences, early on in the high school times. If you guys enjoyed this video, please make sure to like, subscribe, and comment on what story you want me to hear next. And trust me, there are way more stories. Take care, gang.